This is it's called Noon, and it's a passive drum synth. So there's no power supply. It actually just takes the power from a sequencer or a Eurorack modular, and you're simultaneously triggering the voices and powering them. So the result is very unstable, and that's on purpose. I wanted to have a very organic and unstable sound, and so each voice can act as sort of a drum voice, but you can also send it CV and gate simultaneously, and then it becomes like a very chaotic individual sort of synth voice as well, but with very, synth voice in quotes, let's say. And so, so it's 8 different channels, and each of the channels is a unique analog circuit, and so it just has a different tonality per circuit. And so I could show you, let's see, a good way to show what's happening is if I stop the sequence, and then I go to, let's say, drum voices. That's like a very extreme example of like this sort of kick-like circuit that also can behave as like a very slow saw wave. But you can use it as like a kick drum, or you can process other voices with it. And each of the voices you link by using like where they interact between the channels. And what happens is the channels start sharing voltage, and they sort of process each other and sort of modulate each other, but it's like a blurring of the lines because it's passive and because it's so unstable. So as we like go down the line, like the second voice is sort of like a ping filter, but like let's say that I just send, let's see if this will work. If I just send voltage to just that one, right? And what you're mostly hearing is just that being, the pitch is changing because there's another voltage source essentially coming into it and creating the pitch changes. And that goes down the line for any sort of module. So like here's another one. And it's sort of like pitch 1 and pitch 2 and then individual volume per channel, and that's it. So very simplistic controls. And then a mod button then changes how each channel sounds. And so then if I start to introduce, I don't know what's going to happen, but if I introduce CV, so that's not like the best example, but you can tell that it can get pretty crazy pretty quickly. And so like if I start to unmute channels, and then there's like, as it gets up, like the voices get a bit crazier, a bit more intense. So you get like really crazy animal sounds and the vocal tones that you don't normally find in synthesizers. There's sort of like broken sounds, but also liquid sounds, sort of interplay between sort of glitched out and also liquid, I would say. And if I start to if I link things together, it can get quickly a bit more chaotic. So everything is sort of fighting with each other and feeding voltage to one another. Pretty chaotic example, but you can also send external audio in as well. So like if I send now I'm sending like this Volca sample into it. And you can use this channel. The internal input goes to channel 2, and it's sort of acts like a VCA, and it also acts like a filter, because whenever it's getting hit, sort of. It's not though. There's no back trolls in this. So you're just opening it up and also filtering, and it's like distortion happens, and it is hard for me to hear what's going on in here. It's so loud. So I can't even tell if it sounds cool. But anyway, you kind of get the idea. Yeah, that's basically it. Those are all now.
Wow, thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
It's a really cool machine. When is this available?
Well, the first couple pre-order groups sold out. So the next group of pre-orders will probably happen in like August, I would say, and also be available to dealers maybe late summer, maybe early fall, depending on how shipping goes and stuff.
Okay, what is the price?
It's $680 US.
Okay, thank you. It's an amazing machine. I mean, it can be very complex with all these modulations cross feeding each other. Or
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot to explore because there's so many different variables in terms of like power source and what kind of control voltage you feed it. You could feed it any type of control voltage, and it's sort of like just has to interpret that, and because you're powering it as well.
yeah, that's amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks. It's the human control tape transport. So you put in a cassette tape, and then you can. So there's some like synth stuff in there on the tape right now. And you go backwards and forwards, and there's also CV gate outputs, so it has like an envelope follower inside, and so it then creates this. If there's like a kick drum, it'll become like a gate output right on the CV out. There's also like there's a touch mute switch. I won't touch these because that's touch feedback. It's very loud, but you can do crazy feedback stuff, kind of like you can do with the stereo field. And you can also touch this and like use your other hand as like a circuit sniffer and hear like how like different machinery sounds through this. And the third one is a touch feedback instrument. And you're basically using your body to create connections that are not supposed to be made. So you're creating feedback and distortion and filtering and all this sort of mayhem. And it's two stereo preamp circuits, but it's a mirror image of each other. And so you can like sort of pan back and forth with that chaos and feedback. It sounds really good through delays and different effects, but there's all sorts of sounds to be found depending on like how moist your skin is, who you are, like how your skin is, and then you can process audio through that. So you can really like destroy drum machines and synthesizers and stuff through it. And that's mainly what it's made for. But there's like a secondary or third sort of thing that you can do, and you can send CV out to your modular, and you can use it as a very chaotic control surface. So that sort of same really intense, chaos and texture then becomes control voltage. So it sort of imparts the sound of this device within any sort of modules you're sending it to, rhythmically and texturally. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.